It was 20 years of building the company. We sold 48% of it.
Hi, how is everybody doing? I am Renee Bird and I am here for season 4, yes, of the Whoamitalk. I am incredibly excited about this season. As you all know, I created this in the pandemic in 2020. I released a single, and as you can imagine, I had to really think about what I was doing at that time. And then I thought I'd use this opportunity to share my experiences, people, incredible stories on my platform. And the Whoamitalk was born. Today, I am super excited. I have the most amazing lady on my platform, Karen Millen OBE, who's also a friend. I'm very blessed and grateful to share her story. Unless you have not seen anything, you have seen Karen Millen. I remember growing up seeing the stores, and I have some items from Karen Millen, but to know the lady herself and to find out her story is incredible. So I would like to introduce you, Karen Millen OBE. Hi, Karen. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know the audience is going to be really excited to hear your story, what's going on in your life. You're involved in charity work, and there's an incredible founder collection that you've just launched. So we're going to start and talk about everything. So Karen, talk to me. How did it start? How did you become the icon that you are, fashion designer Karen Millen? How did the journey begin?
I think it probably began with a fascination, with fashion, and the fact that from a young girl, I found it a struggle to find fashionable clothes to fit me because I was always quite small. And, we're going back a long time, I am now, in my early 60s. So, it was really hard finding clothes that were fashionable. And out of frustration, my mum used to actually make clothes for me.
Okay.
And the stores weren't the stores as we know them, from say the 80s when high streets really began to change. So it was a case of like making my own, or even down to my Cindy dolls. At the time, I'd make them clothes. So I've always been interested. I watched my mum sewing our clothes, obviously, and it was once I got to a point where I was old enough to sit on the sewing machine and make my own, I did. And during school, I was always good at art and quite creative, and I'd always come in dressed with the school uniform slightly changed, and the hair slightly different to what it's supposed to be. So they teachers all knew that there was, a job I should be doing in some kind of creative world. So when I announced to them that I wanted to do interior, well, not even interior designer, because I never thought I would be capable of that, but painting and decorating, because I just loved being hands-on with everything. They said, oh, we don't think that's a good idea. You'd be lifting ladders, working outside. What about going to fashion university college? And I'm like, okay, if you think so. They said, well, we'll take you to the end of year shows at a local Medway College of Design, which is local to where I lived, and see what you think. So that's what we did, which was really exciting. I'd never really even considered it. And they said, well, what do you think? And I said, okay, if you think I can do that. And they said, right, we'll put a portfolio together and present it to the college and, make an application. So I did that and got in and started my 3-year course at Medway College of Art. And so never looked back, really. I left there after 3 years. And on leaving, I went on a holiday to Morocco and met my then to be partner in both business and personal. So it was kind of a chance meeting, maybe, I don't know, that everything just would fall into place. And so anyway, he was studying an engineering degree at the time, and I was just fresh out of college, but not really knowing what I wanted to do. I was still really unsure about working for anyone in the industry. I didn't have a great deal of confidence. So I just started making some shirts for some friends. And then whilst my partner Kevin at the time was, you know, supporting me. He was still studying engineering, but after the second year decided he really didn't want to be an engineer, what I was doing. So gave up in his second year and decided to work with me. Wow. All the time we were kind of cutting and sewing. And I think what it started really from doing clothes parties that my mum had instigated with people from work. And so I put a few pieces together, and then from that, those parties expanded, and then I bought a roll of white fabric, 100 meters of white fabric, and thought, well, I can put like a little collection of white pieces together. So the collection got a little bit bigger. And yeah, for about a year, 2 years, was doing clothes parties. And my mum would come along and sort of do the commentary. I'd be modeling along with a friend of someone that she worked with, actually. His daughter as well used to model with me. So we'd be the models and my mum would be the commentator as we, you know, pranced around people's front rooms.
Yeah, like a little trunk show, like a little...
It was, yeah, how much work for it. Trunk show, yeah.
Yeah.
Not party plan, but yeah, and then we did markets as well. And yeah, I think sort of just slowly, after about 2 years, we managed, the intention was ideally to get a shop, and we looked into that, which obviously we couldn't afford, but so we managed to get a small loan, and we found a shop in my hometown, Maidstone, and it was tiny in sort of a B-C location, but we thought, okay, you know, it's a starting point, let's give it a go. So we did. Wow. And 2 years later, we opened a second one in Tunbridge Wells. Okay. By which time, really, I mean, so at that point, I was still making a lot of things, and I was certainly making the samples, the patterns and everything. And then we found outworkers to start doing some of the work for us. So we'd cut the garments and then take it out to the outworkers. That's Kevin and myself. And then that sort of grew, that side of it. And then we got to a point where with the second shop, we needed a bigger range, and the only way we discovered garment dyeing. So, wow. So we were able to dye a lot of fabrics or garments and put more styles within the shops. And so, yeah, that was fun, apart from the fact that we hadn't taken into consideration that with garment dyeing, a lot of the fabrics fall apart, or the garments fall apart, or they shrink. So, so we had a lot of things that we had to fix to in order to sell them. So, so we was busy. Kevin and I would be in the evening, sort of in our little flat, repairing garments, or, you know, sort of adjusting them in some way, and then telling the customers it was meant to be like that. So we made lots of mistakes along the way, but it was, you know, all part of the journey, really. And then slowly over, it took really 10 years to actually get to a situation where our manufacturing was a bit more, you know, steady, shall we say, and we've got more in place. The infrastructure was there to actually start doing more. But the biggest thing that, and one of the biggest challenges I think at the time, was the fact that we could never get any funding. It was at a time in the early 80s when the rag trade, as it was called then, was really frowned upon, and certainly with banks and investment companies, they just weren't interested. So we struggled, and you know, I know we got to a point where it was almost at a point where we either fold, or, you know, we find someone to help us, you know, with some kind of funding. And it was pretty much the last bank that we went to. It was a tiny Aiken Hume, tiny private bank, where the guy there, Jim, I think his name was, took us under his wing and actually loved fashion, loved what we were doing, and thought, I'm going to give you, you know, the chance, the opportunity. So we managed to get a little, you know, a small overdraft. It wasn't huge, but it was enough to take us to the next stage, really. So, you know, thankful for him for believing in us.
And that's what it is, isn't it? It's somebody taking that chance. People don't realize how difficult it is to get funding, you know, and it's deemed a high-risk industry, isn't it? They don't understand it. They're going to go, well, no, but this gentleman said, I'm going to invest in you. And it was a great gamble. And look what happened as a result.
was a great gamble, and I'm sure they do this, you know, with other people. Perhaps sometimes it doesn't work out, but it is sometimes, you know, you have to take risks, and it happened with us also with some of the manufacturers that we found, and also some of the suppliers, cloth suppliers, as we sort of went on. You know, we did find some companies that were happy to grow with us, believe in us, and give us a chance. And so all those opportunities paid off, and paid off for them as well, because I know there's still agents and that they've become friends of mine now that we dealt with in the early days, and they were also on, you know, the early stages of their journey. So we're kind of helping each other, even down to the interiors. And when we took on, I think it was our third or fourth shop that we took on some interior designers to do store designers. And again, it was some guys that had come out of the Royal College of Art. So they were starting, we were starting. So we were all helping each other, and they've all gone on to, you know, do really well. And it's great to see, you know, them as successful as we were, really. So all helping each other. So it's, you know, you have to build your business on trust and giving people opportunities, I think, and listening and learning.
I agree. No, I think like you touched on quite interesting things. Trust is so imperative in any industry, especially in anything which is creative, because along the way, people either join and continue or they drop off. There can be disloyalty as well, which is really hard to navigate or even understand or see. So when you do find a good bunch of people that help you, and then they are involved, and then they see the end result, it must be quite inspiring for them, you know?
I think so. I think, you know, when I talk to them now, you know, we all talk about those days with great fondness, because we all learned so much from each other, and we were all, you know, achieved success in the same way. So I think, you know, there's a lot of fondness and lots of memories. It's fun chatting to them all and catching up with them from time to time as well.
Absolutely. And then you had,
in terms of a company, you know, as we grew one big family, really. And I think that's one of our, you know, successes, the fact that we managed to build this big company, keep it quite tight, but, you know, everyone was growing with us. Everyone was, I think being even down to the accounts, you know, because they were associated with a fashion brand, it was not the mundane account side of things, you know, that, you know, it was a bit more fun. And I think we were a young, energetic team that all bounced off each other, and would often do a lot of social things together as well. So it was, you know, it was a very nice environment to work in.
And that's really nice to hear, you know, when you think of your past and the history, it's good to know that you have special memories of that journey, you know, and then it must have been quite incredible to create a pattern. You know, ladies and gentlemen, nowadays, I'm not even sure what goes on with patterns. Old school, real designers, ateliers were sketching and creating it from scratch, and knowing the material and understanding everything.
Yeah, I think we were kind of quite groundbreaking in the sense of high street stores doing that, because it was a bit unheard of, and it still is, really. So we were literally designing and pattern cutting and creating samples, and then going out to factories. Whereas now most of the companies, but certainly the big companies, high street, mainstream stores, all just send out their designs to the factories who create the end product. So there's less control over them now. And for me, it was really important to have that hands-on control, you know, right from, because I think because I loved creating clothes for myself, I had an understanding of how things went together and how to cut a pattern. So I'd done all those, you know, I trained in those areas, so I was able to produce something and know what I wanted. And I think sometimes now that can be lost in translation. Yeah, I think, you know, they're all parts of the reasons why, you know, Karen Millen was very successful on the high street, because we're doing all those things and creating something that was high level, but at a, you know, more mainstream price, more affordable price, and available to a wider audience.
Absolutely. No, that's what it was synonymous with. And intrinsic detail and classic cuts. See, one thing I've been taught from my mother and my grandmother is that you always got to have a classic piece, and Karen Millen was known for classic. You know, that's what I think some of the young generation don't understand. You have a certain piece, you have a jacket, and you should be able to keep bringing it out generationally, you know, and that's what you was known for. Definitely.
Yeah, I think we're probably known for that even more so now, when people delve back into their wardrobes and finding pieces that's still relevant today and they still want to wear it. If they don't fit into them, they're passing them down to their nieces, nephews or daughters. So it's quite fun to see that they're having a second life again.
Absolutely. And that just shows what you created, how classic it is, and how much everybody generationally, we're talking many generations know Karen Millen. And, you know,
Yeah.
I remember when
it's going 40 years, so that's a long time.
And I remember you said to me what was quite funny, going into a store and looking at what the designs were, and people didn't know. People go, "Oh, there's an actual individual called Karen." And we're like, "Yeah, there's a person that created this." So it must have been surreal for you.
People out there that still don't know that, but you know, sometimes it's quite good to be a bit.
Yes, definitely.
It's interesting how people perceive it, really. I mean, and it's gone through lots of changes, obviously, over the years. You know, obviously now it's in different hands totally. I mean, we sold it 20 years ago, and it's changed, you know, a few times since then.
And then, you know, not to bring up the past or any sensitivity, but was it hard when a certain thing happened and it transitioned? How did you feel about that? You know, you are creative and I'm a creative. I know how attached I am to anything. How did you overcome that? Because that was a tough time for you.
Well, I think because, you know, it was 20 years of building the company and 20 years of being with my partner. We met very young. I was 19, he was 20. So we kind of were growing apart from each other. And it made working together more difficult, I think. So after 20 years, I think there was lots of reasons why it felt right to actually sell the company. I mean, we'd been offered, prior to that, we'd had offers to sell it, and we looked at it, went down that route and thought, no, we're not ready. No, we've still got more to do. Let's carry on. And then I think it was in to a consortium of Icelandics, and then 3 years later, 2004, we sold the entirety. And really, to sell that first part of it was to inject more money into the company to sort of expand more, do more overseas stores and everything, which you know, really helped, and it really pushed our outlets, you know, to over 100 stores
all over the world. I remember seeing the stores. Absolutely.
So you know, it just seemed like the right time then to and the fact that, you know, as I say, my relationship with Kevin had broken down. We'd got 3 young children, and I was exhausted. I was exhausted by, you know, the whole work and life, really. So I kind of was ready, and I wanted to spend more time with my children. So, so it felt right. But I have to say, the lead up to it was, I mean, we had to keep it very quiet. You know, obviously, when these things are going ahead, no one's to know. So it was a bit top secret, and so hiding it from other people was difficult. And when it actually came to the signing that day, when we had to go to the lawyers' offices, I think it was in Birmingham somewhere, I actually got up in the morning and I just cried. Oh, no. It just felt just weird, because you was sort of almost handing over your children. They've grown up and suddenly they were off, you know, doing their own thing, and it felt like that. I felt like I was abandoning them a little bit.
Yeah, I understand totally. It's part of
it was an emotional journey, but it was definitely at the time the right choice. And you know, it just felt weird. So that was on a Friday, I remember, and I know I had to go into the office on the Monday and tell all the staff, and that was a hard thing. We had to call them all up and explain, and then there was the new CEOs were there to sort of hand over to. So that was, yeah, it was hard. And then as I walked away, it was like, what do I do now?
I know, like,
get up the next day and I haven't got to go to work. It's like, okay, you know, and that was hard in itself, because, you know, you have to sort of like then discover, well, who am I? You know, what's my purpose in life? And, you know, this is the end of, you know, my relationship with Kevin, this is the end of my work life. So I was sort of starting on a new page completely. I had my children and obviously wanted to spend lots more time with them. And I just wanted a rest, which is all great. But it took me a long time to actually mentally get over the past few years.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, to rebuild my life, really.
Because it was such a big part of you. And as you said, it's your business and your relationship, and it's all commingled. And you've got to show the face that it's brave, but yet inside you could be falling apart, and you've still got to keep going. And you're a mother. It's a whole lot of stuff, and that's incredible that you was able to do that, because it's not easy. People don't understand that.
It wasn't. I think most people, you say those things to a lot of people, and the feedback you get is, well, what's she got to be, sorry about? She made millions, sort of thing. What's her problem? But there was an emotional attachment to it, and I did struggle for several years. But I can look back now, and it was, happy times. We did an incredible thing, and I'm really proud of it.
I'm proud of you. And yeah, I think one chapter, they say one door closes, another one opens. And exactly. I know in that time you done some amazing things. You went and became a charity founder, Teens Unite, which is incredible. That's how I met you, isn't it? I went to one of your dinners, remember, many years ago. And I think I love when people who create also give back, and you are a testimony of that. And Teens Unite is, am I right in saying, a charity that helps teens with life-limiting illnesses. And what you've done is incredible. And I just tell the audience, about how that started, what triggered it, where did it come from?
Well, like you say, I think, when you've gone through a situation where you've been successful, and I felt quite privileged, and I felt that, it was my time to do something for others. And alongside a friend of mine who was also in a situation where she had 3 girls that had grown up and basically sort of were getting on with their lives. They were adults. She didn't need to sort of spend so much time at home. So we were both at the same point in our lives, somewhat differently, but where we both had time and to do something for other people. And we started looking into various charities and supporting them and doing some fundraising events. But we particularly focused on teens, because we felt that after quite a bit of research, we realized there was very little in terms of help and support for teens with cancer or life-limiting illnesses. And we'd go along to the UCLH quite a bit and talk to the staff and some of the patients there. And Debbie sort of befriended a young chap, Chris, who had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And after talking to him and the staff there, she realized he had no family to support him. He was the eldest of 3 boys, and basically, he was the sole provider for them, and had cancer. And then a year later, his younger brother also got Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so the family, very dysfunctional, although alive, had nothing to do with them. And sadly, the younger brother passed away, and in Debbie's arms, actually. And she was there to sort of provide the support and care, and even a funeral for him. So, and I think it was through that journey of seeing the brothers connect and support each other that made us understand and realize, and the talking with Chris, that there's really no support outside of that hospital where you're getting treated. But the treatment only lasts, if you're in there for a few days or weeks or whatever, you come out and you've still got to deal with the fact that you've got cancer, or you're coming to terms with having had it. And so we decided that we would like to start a charity that supported the teens when they were outside of their treatment, because we're not offering treatment or help with that. What we do is more social. So it's about getting those young people together in an environment where it's more social. They can do activities and learn things and meet others that are going through the same journey and concerns that they are. So it's been really successful. And again, something that's really rewarding to see how they grow and you nurture. And you know, the team that we've got in place now, there's not, you know, too many staff, I think 8 or so staff, but what they produce and what they achieve with such a small team is incredible. And like you say, even during, because what we do is a lot of workshops where they participate in maybe photography, cooking, or we take them out on events, or they could be doing something more physical. But I think during COVID, obviously, where we didn't have those facilities, we weren't able to do that. That's where the online workshops really happened and to life. And that really gave us another platform to actually increase and expand upon the people that we could help, because you know, normally we can only have so many people in a workshop.
Of course.
And you know, that allowed us to have more people come online. And so yeah, so it's grown in that respect as well. It's been really successful, and we've managed to keep those still going, although we've gone back to doing the more, you know, active things now and physical things. You know, we still do some of the online stuff.
That's
amazing. And the important things that we do are the staycation kind of thing, so that we have them at maybe see like a boarding school that's closed for the summer, then we'd put them up for 5 days, and then they'll have lots of activities throughout that time, and they actually bond and have a, you know, nice time together really. And it's forming relationships and friendships. We've had a marriage from some of them. One of them.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
So, and you know, to see them, in fact, one of the guys that young lad was commentating on the event that we had at the weekend, Strictly Dance event that we were holding for Teens Unite, and he was comparing, and he was incredible. You know, he told his story and overcome everything, and is there giving back now, really. So
amazing. You've inspired him to inspire, basically.
Yeah. But you know, you're giving me thanks and appraisal for being, you know, starting the charity, but really at the end of the day, I think you know, I've got to sort of praise all the people that work for Teens Unite. They're a great team,
and that's really amazing. So important.
It falls back to the people that you surround yourself with, and you know, whether it's you know, your business, or whether it's something you're doing for, you know, a charity. You know, it's the same concept where you've got to surround yourself with key important people, like-minded people, really, to make a success.
Absolutely. And you know, Teens Unite is incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, have a look and check it out. Obviously, it's a support space for anyone that is going through, sadly, a life-limiting illness, and you can support and you can donate. So that's incredible, Karen. And you know, it's been going a long time. We spoke about the pandemic. A lot of things didn't continue. So the fact that it's still going and people are still involved, it says a lot, you know.
I mean, and ultimately what we've always wanted to do is build our own respite, or to have our own respite for that particular age group. Raising a lot of our money for now. So yeah, it's a long journey, and it's hard getting planning for certain things, and we lost some recently, but you know, we're still aiming to do that, because I think ultimately, you know, that was the goal, and that's still something we're very keen to achieve.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, definitely check that out and see how you can help. You know, there's a venue that you can offer, even better, please contact them. Well, obviously Karen Millen, that was in the 80s, but we are so excited. I screamed when I saw it. You've got a founder collection, which is came out last month and in May 2023, and I am so excited for you. That's like how many years later? And now we're going to see all those iconic pieces. How did that happen? What happened with it?
Well, as I said earlier, I mean, it's gone through a few changes, and the most recent one in 2019, the company got bought out by the Boohoo Group, which instantly closed all of our stores. And I was devastated to think that, you know, the hard work we'd put in to build that had suddenly disappeared overnight. I was like, oh, no, God. You know, it's like, it's the end of, you know, a legacy gone kind of thing. And I thought that would be the death of it. But it hasn't been. So they are online because that's how they operate their business. It's changed a lot, obviously. But And when, you know, when that happened, people were saying, you know, well, they're kind of keen to talk to you. Would you be interested? I was like, I don't think so. But the more I thought about it, I thought, you know what? Why not? You know, I was hungry to get back into doing something within the industry. It's in my blood. I was missing it. I felt like I've got too much to offer. They've got my name, so it's very hard for me to do things outside of that.
Yes.
Without, because a lot of, you know, when we sold, there was other people that would come forward saying, you know, can you put your name to this? Can we do this? Do this collaborate? I'm like, no, I can't do that. You know. And so it was quite difficult. So really, when this opportunity came along, I think the timing, it's about timing. And for me, it came at the right time. And I felt, you know what, I'm ready for this. I can do this. I want to do this. And so we had our talks and they said all the right things. And I thought, yeah, you know, I'm going to give it a go. So I did. They said, and so the contract was to basically put 30 pieces together for a spring collection. And I didn't really have much of a brief. They said, do what you like, which made it more difficult for me in a way. Well, I need a bit of direction.
Yeah.
So I kind of like thought about it and then put my own kind of idea together. And I wanted to create something that was quite significant. I wanted to have tailoring in there, which was, you know, something that we were always known for and strong for. And then there was also dresses, and particularly this sort of Mandarin dress was something that we always sold so well of. And I just thought, I've got to reinvent that. That's got to come back, because we used to sell that season after season, year after year, in different sort of guises. And I thought it's got to show its face again. So it felt like the right time. So that played a part. And sort of aside around that, I built, you know, other pieces, kimono style pieces. So along with classics, a little bit pop of color and changing things like that, the collection evolved. And although it was 30 pieces, that was really only like 15, because that was over 2 colorways. So it's not a huge collection. It was quite difficult because I had gone in with over 30 pieces, styles. We had to edit that down, and so it got diluted to you know, something smaller. So yeah, that's kind of what happened. And then it got pushed on a little bit, so it wasn't released as early as it was going to be. It got pushed out to May because of just fitting in with factories and trying to get it all right. But eventually, yes, early May. It was all very exciting, and you know, they were great to work with, really accommodating. And I think, you know, I went there with great trepidation, not knowing what to expect, and I think they were equally as nervous, you know, the people that I was working with. And I didn't really consider that. I thought that I might be seen as a threat, or, you know, it's all very well being brought in by the top, you know, top people, but the ones that you maybe have to work with, they might think you're, you know, stepping on their toes a bit. And I was a bit like, oh, you know, how will I be received? But they were just excited and grateful. And I think it's not until you do something like that you actually realize how much you do know, because having been away from it for 20 odd years, you lose touch, and obviously things are different. It's all online now. It's not online when we sold it. So the working is very different to what I was used to. So I was learning things as well as they were learning things. So and, you know, we got there in the end, and so it was fun.
And the foundation, I will say, in fashion, you know, when you look at the ateliers, you look at the cutters, the pattern creators, you are coming from that era. So they must have been like, wow, you know, how you would view it and what you would do with it is so different. And they learned so much from that, because that's the foundation of fashion, isn't it? That's how it all was conceptualized.
And I think I did gauge that a lot more from the younger ones that I got to sort of know later on, particularly when it came to shooting and everything, doing the campaign. They were all so young. They weren't even born when we'd started, so it was like a bit weird. And I remember taking in a couple of pieces. I took in a jacket, you know, from the 80s, and it had these big shoulders and really nice linen double-breasted jacket with these pleated arms. I sort of presented this and I sort of said, you know, this is one of our early pieces, and we've actually got it on a photo that featured in Marie Claire, which I took along as well. And so they were all like, wow, you know, like that's amazing. And then it just hit me that they weren't even born when that was in the stores, sort of thing. So, you know, it must be quite weird for them too. And put, you know, a face to the name that they've been working, you know, with for a few years now. It's like, yeah, it's all became.
They must have been just overwhelmed. And it says again, the testimony to your brand. How many generations has it continued? Think about it. In fact, they weren't even born. It shows how long your brand is.
Yeah. And I tell you what, the other thing was really sweet that really touched me, and it brought tears to my eyes actually. When we did the photo shoot, we was all sort of like, you know, doing our bits and everything, and then suddenly they came out with this director's chair with the founder written on the back and said, "This is for you." And I was like, oh my God, really?
Oh
Yeah, it's really quite a moment.
yeah.
And they thought that, and they'd gone to that length to do that. It's really nice.
And it just, again, testimony, you know, but it must have been overwhelming. And you sometimes you can be in what you're doing and forget, or just you lose touch on what you are. And I think what this has done is reminded you, and I hope it has.
It has. And I think more so, you know, I was sort of reading all the feedback from people that, you know, on social media, and it was like, oh God, you know, I think there was only one negative thing. Everything else was really positive. And I was like, you know, thank you. It's so sweet. It's so, yeah, it really boosts your confidence and puts you in a completely different place.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for you. I think you, as you said, timing is everything, and it was needed and it's needed. And now who knows what the next collection and the collection after it and what can come of this is what's really exciting, isn't it? It's the unknown. Please check out the Founder Collection. Really excited. You're going to get some classic pieces from the lady herself who's actually created it. So it's like going back in time, but bringing it to current time. So I'm really excited about that. As well as your Founder Collection, you've also done interior design. I mean, when you're a designer, you do everything. But talk to me about that. How's that going? Or is it something you're going to...
Well, you know, like you say, when you're a designer, you're a designer. And to me, interior design is very similar to fashion design. It's all about proportion, color, texture, all very similar. And I've always been interested, as we said earlier on in the interview, that I was going to, you know, looking to be a painter decorator, because I didn't think I could do interior design. But I just love it. I mean, I've always loved home. Home is really, you know, my place. I love being at home. I love decorating my home and being in environments that, you know, sing to me, and creating those spaces as I do clothes. So when we sold the company, I think I was so exhausted by the fashion industry that I just wanted to throw myself into interiors. I'd got a beautiful home. I'd bought a place in London, and I wanted to update them and renovate and everything. So I threw myself into all of that. And then off the back of that, I had people, friends of friends, were saying, would you do mine? Would you do mine? So I did a couple of projects, but they were, you know, for friends of friends and things. But I found them quite challenging, because what I was missing, I mean, as much as I love it, it was very difficult working with a client on something so personal. And quite a long journey, because one particular client just wouldn't make up his mind, and it went on over a couple of years. I'm like, you know what? I need to get in this. And what I was missing was the retail side of things, and I thought I'd always quite liked the idea of doing that. So I dabbled with a few things, doing a glassware range with someone from Ireland, Tipperary Crystal. Went down that process for a while. That was looking interesting, but then that kind of didn't come to anything. And again, the name sort of like got into problems a little bit with using my name. So anyway, I decided to start an online homeware business, where I was curating from pieces that I found across the world, and particularly Indonesia, where I love that look. And so sourced things from there and other antiques and things from Belgium and Europe, and created Homemonger.
Okay, nice.
Which is still, Homemonger, which is still live and happening, but it's more of a hobby than it is a business, in the sense of I'm not sure it's going to be particularly fruitful. It's so hard now, you know, getting the shipping got ridiculous, and particularly after COVID and everything. The shipping costs just were unbelievably expensive, and products also went up, and I just don't know that there's a market for it at the moment.
No, that makes sense. I think the founder collection and all the things that encompass that, I know without a shadow of a doubt it's already opening doors. I've seen the billboards and people are now getting to know you again, and I'm thinking out loud to get a book. Maybe a book can happen out of this. That'd be amazing.
Tell you know, I mean, I keep saying this and people keep saying it to me, and even like 20 years ago when we first sold the business, I was approached to write a book, and I kind of looked at it, and then the ghostwriter sort of approached me, and I did a little bit, and I just thought, no, this is not for me. I can't do this. So it was probably the wrong person at the time, and I don't know, not in the right space to do it. And I've since thought about it again, and obviously the story's got longer, and the book will get longer, and there's definitely a book in there, but it's just, I don't know, it's a bit daunting to actually, I know the process will be quite hard because, you know, it's trying to remember everything, and then there's a lot of research, a lot of talking to some of the people along the way. Yeah, my memory is not that great, but I do talk to some of the people that we work with. They actually remind me of things, so you know, it's important to actually get their views on things as well, and things that you completely forgot or didn't even know about. And so yeah, lots of stories, and it's what angle you take on it. And I have started scribbling notes, I've started talking to people, but I don't know. I mean, I really do want to do it because I think I owe it to myself, and I owe it to my family. I think it'd be nice for them to actually read the story.
And I think it will fly off the shelves. You have had a journey from humble beginnings to iconic to now where you are, and people are inspired. This is what it is. You're telling your story, and you're being candid, and you're being honest about it. And it's going to be hard, but it's going to actually heal. Something about when you share that, it's going to change.
Really, I think, you know, you have to go through those motions. It's therapy, isn't it? It's a kind of therapy, and yeah, not always easy, but you know, once you get through it, you find that it really helps. And you know, I guess like most things, there's a right time for that, and it's there, it's in the back of my head, and I know it keeps surfacing, and I know it's bubbling away. So, you know, never say never.
It'll be the book, and then it'll be the Netflix. I've said this here. That's what will happen, Karen. But what you can also do, even use you can use a dictaphone. This is what helps for me when I'm writing.
You know what? You're right. I think I've actually started, because I do write a diary, but it's never every day, or it's not, you know, sometimes it's just rubbish, you know, not the important things that I should have been writing about. So just lately I've been recording rather than writing, because I think half the time when you're writing, you miss so much out. So now when I'm on my dog walk, I start sort of talking, and I'm finding, then you get the emotion with it as well, don't you? And I think that's easier to actually start putting a book together if you've actually got the emotion and the little details there that you don't when you're just writing things.
No, I think you'll definitely, and it becomes more natural. Writing is hard. You've got to think about what you're writing, whereas when you speak, it's more natural.
Yeah. But I think I had a problem with that before and that's why I don't necessarily like interviews, because sometimes I can write things better than what comes out of my mouth.
But you've done amazing. I think it's incredible. You're very natural, and you just.
It depends what you're talking about, I guess, and maybe just having done a few, it just makes you a little bit more relaxed about the whole thing. But I know that you can edit it.
Absolutely. I think you just enjoy it. That's the key, isn't it? So enjoy the process, and maybe put some time if you have the time, because I know we're so busy as ladies. Like you just literally dictate and say, today I'm going to talk about, or just put it into different, you know, sections.
I think it's, you know, putting it in, rather than thinking chronologically, you know, about things. I don't want my book to be necessarily chronological. I think it needs to start somewhere different, and then, you know,
start from founder all the way. You could do it the other way around.
Yeah, I know where it's going to start,
Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, this book and this series, this Netflix classic is going to be incredible. I can see. And you know what it is as well, when you least, as I said, timing is everything in any industry. Sometimes we put pressure on ourselves as creatives or just people in general when we have our ideas, but you have to trust the process. I'm really big on that, like just trust it and let it just flow. And sometimes without you even expecting it, it just flows.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm old enough now to know and realize that, yeah, there's a time and a place, and what will be sometimes. You can only do so much, and then the rest seems to fall around you, or form around you. So we'll see.
You know, this brings me on as we're fading out. It brings me on to what advice, I mean, you have had a journey, you're still working, you're still creative. And what advice would you give to someone listening who wants to go down your road, be a fashion designer or creative in general? What nuggets would you give them?
I'm even really qualified to give that advice now, because things have changed so much. But I think fundamentally, you know, when anyone starts a business, whether it's in fashion design or any business at all, you've just got to find the thing that you're passionate about, something that you can't perhaps get, something that you offer that's different. You've got to have a point of difference with your business. There's got to be a reason why your business is going to succeed. And then I think you've got to be prepared to work, you know, very hard and be committed, because it's all very well having an idea, but then, you know, a few months down the line thinking, oh, you know, it's not going as well, so I'm going to jump ship and do something else. You've got to be totally dedicated to what you decide to do, and very focused, and just keep pushing through. I mean, it's so easy to give up when you hit the first hurdle, second hurdle, and you will hit the hurdles, because any business will have those. And it's all about being strong enough to power through those and overcome those to succeed, because, you know, that is part of success. You've got to work hard. It doesn't happen overnight. So yeah, and I think going back to what we said again earlier about having a good team around you, I think is fundamental. You know, you've got to be, you know, employ the right people, listen, learn, and share, and be open to ideas, and never get complacent.
It's a good one. Right, because you can.
Yeah, if you're doing well, you can get complacent, but there's always someone creeping up behind you and pushing you to the side. So you've got to be ahead of the game as much as you can. Keep going, and keep, you know, focusing on moving forward rather than becoming plateaued and complacent with anything. So, you know, it's hard. Starting a business is, you know, it's long-term hard work.
Who knows what the future holds from here on in? This is what's so exciting about life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that's what makes me feel, you know, I get up in the morning and I feel alive again. I feel that I've got a purpose again. And that's so important, I think, for people's mental well-being. So, yeah, no, it's been good for me, really good for me.
Yeah, well, I wish you every success. I'm really grateful to have you as a friend in my life, and you've inspired me 100% in what you've done, and you're inspiring the audience and people who are about to take this journey and who are actually in this journey. So be encouraged, don't give up. You never know what the future will bring, and you know, you have to keep pushing.
You do. You do.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Renee.
Take care.
And you, bye.